Hi all, I'm your host Cryptic and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the topic of undervolting your Intel CPU for your gaming laptop. Now, this needs to be for the unlocked series of Intel GPUs. Specifically, what I'm running here is my 2024/early 2025 MSI Raider. It's got the i9-14900HX. The HX series is unlocked, so you're able to overclock, undervolt, and modify certain values. The other lower series, you'd have to check with your CPU needs that HX prefix. Usually on desktop, it's the K series. On the laptop, it's HX. Those ones can be modified for undervolting, etc. Now, this will work for anything 10th gen and newer. I'm specifically doing the 14th gen here on the MSI Raider, so I have the MSI BIOS. If you're doing this on a Lenovo, an Asus, an Acer, etc., HP, Dell, BIOS will be slightly different, but the keywords and terminology will be the same because that is the standard for these Intel GPUs to what their references are. So following this guide, you should be able to navigate and do these on your own laptop. If you have an MSI laptop and you've got a same CPU here, you may copy my values, but do understand it will vary from CPU to CPU due to thermal technology. So what kind of heat pipes, fans, configuration is set up on your specific model laptop. To the voltages, is it full voltage or not for your CPU and GPU? And of course, the exact series in that unlocked CPU family. So if it's the 14900, you'll be probably most likely okay, but also Silicon Lottery. It's going to vary. Mine might be stable for me. They might be unstable for you. Also, you may also be able to get a better undervolt, where could be way far better than mine. So yeah, those variances are going to be there. You're going to have to sort of play around with it to get the best for yourself. Now, what are the benefits of undervolting? The benefits are lower temperatures. And in some cases, specifically my case, with this exact laptop, I had a better performance after undervolting, getting to lower temperatures. Although I wasn't suffering from extremely bad, how do I put it? Sort of heat and temperatures while on a heavy load through gaming or video editing, etc. The score when doing just the raw performance that was getting bottlenecked, it was clearly from the CPU side and not the mobile 4090, RTX 4090 that's in this laptop. So that was kind of disappointing to see that. But once I got the undervolt there, I got from a score on Cinebench of 25,000 to over 30,000, which is fantastic. No more issues, did notice increased frames, but more stability and cooler temperatures while under full load. Under full load in gaming, especially in CPU intensive titles and programs that predominantly use CPU, was never going to 90. It would cap out at like 84 to 87 degrees Celsius max. Fantastic. Again, your results may vary, so be aware of that. Now, in order to do any undervolting or overclocking, you need to unlock the advanced menu. Now, on the MSI BIOS, it is done by pressing the right shift, right control, left alt, and F2. You can do them all. You have to do them all together, but you can do like hold that, then hold that and that, right? And then it will pop up with this, and you should have an expanded main and advanced menu. That's what you need to do. You need to do this every time you go into the BIOS for MSI. Again, other brands may vary. Now, you will need to unlock the ability to either undervolt or overclock, etc. Now, when you're in the main menu here, right, which is the main advanced menu that's now expanded because we've unlocked it, we want to go to power and performance, right? So you can use your arrow keys here. You can use your mouse. It's entirely up to you. Power and performance. Here we go. Enter. Once you're in here, you want to go to CPU power management control, right? Which is the first option here on the MSI. Hopefully you can see that. I'll get this to focus. There we go. Cool. And once you're in there, you want to go to CPU lock configuration. And let's go down. All right, I did this once, and I've got notes here to make sure I still remember where it is, because you sort of do it once and you don't have to do it again. It remembers this, although you have to unlock the advanced menu every time, which is understandable in the sense that, you know, you don't want to accidentally do something. Now, what you want to do on overclocking lock, you want to, it'll be by default enabled. So it's locking overclocking. You want to unlock it. So you want to set this to disabled. You would hit enter. And of course, up and down, pick what you want, right? I'm going to keep mine disabled because that's how I want it. Now, once you're done there, you want to return back to the main advanced menu, right? And go to overclocking performance menu, right? Back to overclocking performance menu, which is further down here. Right, and this is where you'll do all the overclocking in this menu once we get to it, right? Oh, sorry, the undervolting. You do your overclocking here as well. And you want to go to enable the overclocking feature, right? So overclocking feature here, which is the first option, same thing. It'll be set to disabled by default. You want to switch this to enabled and hit enter. Once that is done, you are ready to go. Okay, now, to understand some of the terminology here, this took me a bit to get used to. I'm going to link a Reddit post that I found, and I've noticed that videos either take hours to explain how it is or do it using software. I prefer to undervolt using the BIOS. Why? You don't need to then run the software that has your undervolt settings every time you boot up. 2, quite easy once you do this process to put them back to default if you want to. And 3, that also helps in the sense that if you have to do anything under warranty, obviously this technically voids it. But if you reset everything back to default and then send it in, good to go. In the hopes that, of course, that whatever the issue you have doesn't prevent you from getting back into the BIOS. But in saying that, doing it through the software is the same thing. They'll probably notice it's installed there. They know what it is. They're not idiots. Or maybe they are. And then that might void your warranty anyway. But this is not risky. It will not break or destroy your laptop in any way. It will not cause it to overload or whatever, any issues like that. Now, the main one here is processor. Now, processor is where you're going to be doing the cores. So with the Intel 10th Gen and up, you've got your E cores and your P cores, performance and efficiency cores. When you have this here, the VF configuration scope, it'll be set to all core. That means if you do a minus 100 millivolt value, right, it applies it to all the performance and all the efficiency cores. That doesn't really work well. You want to set this to per core. The reason being is your E cores are able to be undervolted further than your P cores and stay stable. For example, here, I've got my P cores at minus 90. So when you're in the P cores, you can actually set the value, and then here is enter, and you change between the plus and the minus. Okay? And enter, same as you did for your enable and disable settings. So I've got all my P cores to 90, and then when I get to my E cores, they're minus 180, and that's dead stable, no WHEA errors, none of that. Now, the lower you can get your cores, your physical cores undervolted, the bigger the difference you're going to notice in doing your, how do I put this, your temperatures, right? They're going to make the biggest difference. Because usually a lot of people will tell you to undervolt your cache. The cache can be undervolted. The difference that you'll notice is minimal, but if you're min-maxing your undervolt as best as possible and doing this properly, you still want to undervolt your cache as well. But also the cache is what makes it the most unstable if there are any errors that pop up when you do your benchmarking, okay? And I'll get to the benchmarking after this. So I've got, again, my P cores to minus 90 and my E cores all to minus 180. And that's worked for me. Now, I suggest you start at something like 50 to 80, somewhere around there, and then up it by 10 millivolts for the negative value. And maybe you start your E cores at 100 and go from there and do a test. So the whole point is that you change one value to a safe amount, do a test, confirm it is safe and no errors, and then go back and increase the undervolt, and then continue that way and retest until an error pops so you know where your maximum is. Okay, so processors or your cores. E-core L2 is your E-cache. So your E-core cache. I've got mine to minus 110. That was stable for me. Again, yours might be less, yours might be more. It all depends on your laptop, your silicon lottery, your specific series in the Intel CPU. All that is dependent on what value you can achieve. And of course, even the ambient temperature in the room. So many factors, right? So many variables that can affect the performance that you gain. Ring is your P-core cache. P-core cache hates being undervolted, especially, yeah, it just hates it. I could get it to like minus 30, minus 50, but I would get errors, and it would then eventually become unstable in certain gaming scenarios that are CPU intensive. Not all the time, but let's say after maybe a couple hours, it would just restart. It would do a restart process, and it was this. Once I got this back down to just minus 10 millivolts, ran all the tests, did gaming benchmarks for, geez, I sort of went through this process for a few weeks to absolutely make sure that this was stable in any scenario. Now, of course, you can test all you want. You won't get everything, but you will get most things, and a pretty clear indication that's 90% plus that your undervolt is stable. So mine is only at minus 10. You may be able to get more without errors again. It's all dependent on your luck with your CPU. And that's pretty much mostly it. Now, there are other things you could do. You can limit the first and second P core to the correct turbo, and also limit the what's the word here? Limit the volts that it draws for the CPU, sort of thing. Because on the 14900 HX specifically, it draws an unruly amount of power. And I'm going to show you to do it. So if you have the 14900 HX, I will quickly show you how to do those two things. You'll notice that P core, the core 0 and 1, they're set to 58, and all other cores are set to 52. You want to set the first two to 52 as well to keep them in line. One, you will not lose any performance because of this. Because two, in a laptop chassis, right? You got to think about this. In a laptop chassis like this, or any laptop, your thermal headroom is non-existent. You're going to max it out if you were to do something like a Prime 95 or a Cinebench or an OCCT, power sort of test, etc., and just run them for an hour. The thing's just going to crash due to just being pinned to like max temperature thresholds for too long. So yeah, you're better off just lowering that, and then it will get to higher clocks and turbos than it would have stock. So yeah, so to get to those, and I will get straight to the notes, and it'll play nice with me, hopefully. There we go. So yeah, it pretty much wants to go to 5.8 gigahertz, which is why it's set to 58, but it'll only really get to 52. So 5.2 gigahertz, which is what you really want to do here. So to do that, back to the main advanced, and then we want to go to power and performance. If I recall, there we go, power and performance. And then from power and performance, you want to go to CPU power management, which is the first one there. And from CPU power management control, you want to go to turbo ratio limits. And this is the one where a lot of the stuff where it'll just try to overclock or turbo boost way too high, and it will never achieve that. It'll never. View configure turbo options, turbo ratio limit options. There we go. So make sure, yep. Here. Right? They're set to 52. So what we want to do here is scroll down, and where you can see here, P turbo, your P cores, ratio 0 and ratio 1, they will be default set to 58. Set them to 52, just like ratio 2 all the way through to ratio 7. Okay? That's going to make things so much more stable. And if you weren't noticing changes before in temperature and voltage and all that sort of stuff and clocks, this will help. The other one now that will also help that I mentioned is getting it down to 1.4 or 1400 is the setting that you want to change to. What you want to do here is, this is mostly for the 13th and 14th gen Intel CPUs. So what we want to do is go to power and performance in the main menu, right? Power and performance, and then from power and performance, CPU management, like everything. And then from there, CPU VR settings is what you want to go there. It's the one right here with the arrow. CPU VR settings. And from CPU VR settings, okay, you want to look for VR voltage limit. And you want to go to VR voltage limit. Oh, core VR settings. There we go. VR voltage limit. Set it to 1400. It'll be blank. There'll be nothing in there. So it's doing the full voltage, spiking your heat, thermal throttling, and losing performance. Set that to 1400 and you'll be good. 1.4 volts. And once you're all done, you want to go save and exit, save changes, and reset. Okay? Once you do that, it will then boot up into Windows. So I will exit because my settings are already all in there, and just go yes. And let's boot into Windows. Okay. Once you're booted into Windows, guys, I recommend downloading 2 tests, Cinebench and OCCT. I'll leave links in the description box, completely free, straight from the creator's own website, nice and safe. There's no issues there. What you want to do, you want to go to OCCT, run the executable, and once that runs, okay, once that runs, there's going to be 3 tests that you want to run, and you don't need to run them for hours. The best test is going to be real world. You can stress this all you want. The whole point of the stress is to test all your cores and threads and make sure that nothing thermal throttles, right? That is the most important thing. That is the most important thing. Okay. So when you get to it, you should be in a menu like this, right? First test, CPU and RAM. Data set large, mode normal, variable, start cycle at 1. Thread setting, core cycling, cycle through cores. I do it every 3 seconds, right? And thread per core 1. Just hit start. Let that run. You can let it run for as long as you want. Usually around 10 to 15 minute mark is more than enough. That should give you, if you have any unstable errors, right? And when you run it, for example, it'll just pop up with this, support us Patreon. Don't have to. It's free. It's a free license. You don't need any certificates and all that extra stuff for this, because once you set it, you're pretty much done. Hit start, and then it'll run everything. Right there, no errors detected, right? Once it pops up with an error, what you want to do is go back into the BIOS by pressing delete in this case, right? If I didn't mention that previously, when you see your brand logo for your laptop pop up, whether it be MSI, Asus, whoever, smash the delete button on your keyboard, get into your BIOS, and go back to your clocks and reduce the undervolting, right? So let's say you've done it to 120 to the P cores and 200 for the E cores somehow, and it's unstable. Go down 10, 15 millivolts, right? For each, and do that. Or if you've overdone the caches, start with the cache first, because they're the most unstable of the entire thing, right? get them, rerun the tests, and see if you have any errors, right? When you're done, no errors within 10-15 minutes, just hit stop. Exit out of that. Oop, not exit, but let's go back again. Should have hit back instead of exit. Back to the main menu. That's okay. Lesson learned. We'll just boot it up again real quick. Okay. You want to do CPU on its own. Mode normal, load type variable, cycle at 1, auto, thread setting, core cycle, cycle through all cores. I set it to 5 seconds. Threads per core 2. You can do 1. Up to you. Line pack, waste of time. Power. Power is very important. If you didn't get any errors in CPU plus RAM, CPU, but you do in power, because that stresses it more, that's the one. You just want as default and just hit start. Same menu pops up. There. If you get 0 errors after 10-15 minutes in all of these, go exit out of this, and then you want to run Cinebench. Do Cinebench for its CPU multi-core test and hit start. I went from about 24 to 25,000 and I went to 30 to 31,000, guys. Okay. That's what I was able to do. That's me in the orange, which is a huge jump for me. Again, yours will vary. If yours are higher than mine, fantastic. I'm really happy for you. That's the whole point of this tutorial, is to get the most out of your CPU and laptop. You paid your hard-earned money for it. You should be able to get it. So anyway, run this. It should take about 10 minutes or less. In my case, I think about 8.5 minutes. Run it and you should see your score improve. If you want, I highly recommend that you probably run this before you do your undervolt and then run it after and then see the fruits of your labor, right? But that's pretty much how to do a BIOS undervolt for your laptop, for Intel cores with P cores and E cores, 10th gen or newer. This is more focused around the 13th and 14th gen, but you can do it for the new ones that are coming in 2025. They're essentially clocked up versions of the 14th gen or downclocked versions of the 14th gen with a new name like Intel love to do. So you can do pretty much the exact same thing. They'll have the same terminology for the cores, the E cache, and the ARC cache. Okay. So yeah, that's it right there, guys. That's the entire tutorial on how to do it. If you have any issues trying to get the volts to come up, another tool that I recommend is HW Monitor. Run that. Okay. When you run this, scroll up where you can see there, and you can see that the voltages are applied right there. 90 millivolts, 110, 130. Okay. So there, and you can also monitor live temperatures for your CPU. Okay. You may have issues where you're idling at 80 degrees. This will help. But if you're doing that, I would check if yours is brand new, take it in for warranty immediately and get them to do a repaste and everything. Again, the warranty is there. Use it. If you want to do the repaste yourself and you're confident, by all means, go for it. Again, that'll definitely void your warranty because you'll have to peel off warranty stickers where the screws are to make it happen. But if you have it, it's in warranty, use it. It's free. They shouldn't charge you a cent. Again, it depends on your region as well. Here, down under, pretty smooth sailing with the warranty procedures from my personal experience. So I would use that up first. Make sure your fans and your laptop is clean, ventilation is clean, etc. Make sure the cooling system is working as it should be, and if you have the Undervolt on top. Idling, oh god, between 51 and 57 degrees Celsius. Under load, 81 to 87 degrees Celsius, like max load. So I personally can't complain. I got the results I wanted, got more performance by undervolting as well, and doing those changes. So yeah, hopefully this has informed you and helped you. If it did, please leave a like, comment below, share it to your friends or anyone else that you know is trying to find not a necessarily comprehensive, but just an easy guide on what to do to Undervolt, because there's a lot of threads and a lot of terminology being thrown around, assuming that everyone knows everything and they're, you know, they know all the lingo, but not necessarily. You just want someone just to show you, right? And hopefully I've done that for you here. And of course, subscribing is greatly appreciated. Thank you again, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.